Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Okay. You ready?
Good morning. Say 30.
Morning. Okay.
Welcome to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. I'm Laura McFadden, one of the facilitators, along with Jackie Edward Walton, Mary Johnson, Winston Robinson, Gary Young, Natalie McElroy, who is normally our timekeeper. She's not with us this morning, but Dr. Blanche Penn, who has just joined our team of volunteers. We have Steve Johnston and Shay Abdul, our website editors, and Dr. Thomas Moore, our musician, along with other members, Helena, Candy Ivory, Jasmine Wright, and Robert Collins. Our forum runs from 8:30 until 10 a.m. and at 9:45, hear me well, we will pause for announcements and comments from the audience. Announcements can also be sent to Steve at sjohnston@kingstonforumcharlotte.org. Please silence your phone. We always like to begin with a prayer. And Dr. Penn is going to do our prayer for us this morning. She's, okay, I'm sorry. Come on, Gerald. Gerald Patton will do our prayer this morning. And just as information, Dr. Penn is our timekeeper. For those that are here for the first time, make sure that you pay attention and respect her because she will let you know when your time is up. Gerald.
Good morning. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you once again for this opportunity to be in your presence. Lord, we thank you for the gathering of the community, Lord, that thought it not robbery to give it their time early this morning to come out and to engage in community affairs. Lord, we ask that you bless the speakers, that took time out of their schedule to be with us, to share important information about the growth and development of our community. Lord, we ask that you just continue to bless the businesses as they continue to strive forward to make Charlotte a more productive and engaging community, inclusive for all. Lord, we ask that you continue to be with these facilitators that give so tirelessly of their time each and every week to bring us good dialogue and good programming that would benefit us all. These and other blessings we ask in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Do we have anyone here for the very first time? Okay, so we are all home.
Oh, wait, we got one.
We do? Okay.
There it goes.
And will you introduce yourself and tell us who you're affiliated with?
Oh wow, that's so much. Okay, good morning everybody. My name is Jazzy. I'm here because of Jalen. You first invited me. I go to Queen's University and I'm double majoring in psychology and political science. And I am a Charlotte native, born and raised on the west side.
Come on. Yeah.
Welcome, and we, just as information, we meet almost every Tuesday morning. You are more than welcome to come back and bring some other young folks with you. We also have a coffee fund. We have a little cup back there. Feel free to make a donation if you like to our coffee fund. Following this presentation, we will take questions from the audience. And please raise your hand, and we will call on you in order in which you raise your hand. Questions should be no more than 30 seconds, and our timekeeper will give the opportunity to our speakers to answer. If you have a question for one panelist, please say that. And we're asking now if you will, once you stand, we may call on you, but we'd like for you to just give us your name before you ask your question, so at least our panelists will know. So we're asking you to just follow our directions, and for those that are here for the first time, our guests that are speaking, we don't know who's going to show up, we never know, but people come in respectfully and they leave respectfully. But we have with us some big timers in front of us today. Developers These are our own from our community. Great metropolis of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I've been trying to get Bobby Drakeford here for some years, so he's now come together. He comes, he visits with us from time to time. So without any further ado, you all know the drill. And I'd like for Bobby to start off because we all of us know all of you all, don't get me wrong, but he's like a fade in this group, okay? So without any further ado, let's welcome them. And you all don't be hostile with these developers. You know, we need them.
Good morning. So just introduce myself and how long should
I'm not going. A minute, I guess. Mr. Fletcher.
So my name is Bobby Drake, and I'm certainly honored to be here.
3 minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. And yeah, do attend Tuesday morning breakfast occasionally, and I think this is a fabulous forum for us. And I want to thank everybody for all their participation and coming here today. So, by the way, we have in transit breakfast that some Chick-fil-A and fruit and stuff. It's just run a little late, but we provided that, so we're honored to be here and certainly want to support Tuesday morning breakfast in any way we can. In this topic of Black developers, and as Laura mentioned, is a conversation we've had for some time. And I'm a Charlotte native and have been involved in the industry for a while, and maybe more familiar than some other folks. But there's several of us who are doing great work. And so I called Todd and Shawn and Dion Nelson and Ron Staley, and there are others, but they couldn't make it today. Dion has a lot of travel conflicts and is out of the city. I'm here all the time. And I think it's great for us to have an opportunity to meet some other folks doing good work. I just want to share some ideas just as kind of foundational about this forum and things that I think are important to us. And something I learned in business school decades ago about real estate, which is real estate government is your partner. And so at the point that we're at in Charlotte with our growth and our leadership presents opportunities that I think are not coming to fruition that we could help work together to achieve for the benefit of our communities. What I think you'll see, and it's I think important, we have these guys with me in particular, that the work that we do benefits our community, work the white developers do not benefit our communities. So I think it's important that we have that discussion with folks making that decision and those decisions in a more substantive way, because it is a direct benefit to our neighborhoods. Todd and I met in person when I was recruiting him to try to do a project in front of my neighborhood on Drakeford Road. This is somewhat plagued our neighborhood in Northwest States. He's a retail developer, so I called him. Shawn and I had one another's phone numbers in our phone for about a decade before we met. But I know his great work, and just real honored to support him. And we'll say to Shawn, we're gonna have a reception for you, by the way, instead of you doing one for us on Drakeford Road. So thank you for all that you're doing. So I'll turn it to Shawn or Todd next. And one last thing I'll add in terms of the introduction, in respect to being honored to be here. It's a great honor to be here with two Morehouse men. My ex-husband is still. I know I've achieved something to be on a panel with two guys or more. Whoever wants to go next.
Good morning, good morning. My name is Shawn Kennedy. I just introduced myself as Queen Esther's grandson. I moved to Charlotte in 2004, a month after I graduated from Lee Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. I moved here not knowing one person. The reason I moved to Charlotte was while I was at Morehouse, I opened up 5 clothing stores and I opened up a bar. And it's not a good idea for a 22-year-old to own a bar. So the great state of Georgia said, if you want to get another liquor license, you have to wait 2 years before we can give you one. So I looked at a map and said, where can I go for 2 years to open up another bar? And I said, Charlotte, North Carolina. So the plan was to come here for 2 years, open up a couple stores, and then move back to Atlanta in 2007. It's 2026 and I'm here. I married a beautiful local Charlottean, Nia Kennedy, my beautiful wife. Have 4 beautiful kids, and the city of Charlotte has let me in, and I've become a son of Charlotte. And it's been a great experience. From retail stores, when I first got here, I had a store in Eastland Mall, one on Oakmont Road, one on North Tryon. From there, I went into hospitality, opening up 5 restaurants and bars here throughout Greater Charlotte. And then in 2009, I discovered real estate. My career has been a little different because I've kind of figured out things as I went as a serial entrepreneur. The last job I had, I was 17 years old. So it's just been figuring out building a plane as I fly the plane. So from the bars, went into real estate and started buying single family homes throughout our communities. I bought houses within walking distance of this place for $13,000 in 2009. And you guys know you can't find anything anywhere near that in these communities. So purchased these single family homes, again, by accident. There was no plan. I just went around, knocked on doors, and bought single family homes. And I hate to say it, but rode the wave of gentrification in our communities. And from that, I learned that you can take what you need to give back. So in 2015, I decided that I need to start giving back because all the people that I did business with, from my stores to my bars, my restaurants, my clubs, and the people that rent for me look like me. So the first thing we did is we started a camp at John C. Smith, which is an absolutely free camp. We've been doing it now for 11 years for 300 young men. And then from there, I went into affordable housing. And currently on our schedule, we have over 700 affordable units that we're delivering throughout North Carolina in the next year and a half, all for sale products. And then this summer, I took on a project, which I think a lot of people want to talk about, one that was deemed to be impossible. But in 7-8 months, we've got further than anybody has, and that is Excelsior. So the goal is to give back and impact our community through real estate. And that's pretty much who I am. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. I've attended Tuesday morning forums a few times, and I've had the opportunity to talk briefly one time. So thank you for having me.
Well, good morning. My name is Todd Collins. I'm CEO of company Red Hill Ventures. I've been hearing about this Tuesday forum forever, but this is my first opportunity to actually come. It's great to be here with you guys. Our firm, Red Hill Ventures, we're a real estate investment firm, and we operate in DC, we operate in North Carolina, we operate in Texas. And I'll tell you, every day I really wake up thankful for the work I get to do, partly because of just how I started. It was always my dream growing up. I grew up in Houston, and I grew up with 2 parents that were both raised on family farms, and they both were raised picking cotton. And so it was funny, I used to hear these stories about picking cotton growing up. I thought everybody's parents just picked cotton. So I went to Morehouse, and we're talking about, growing up. Oh yeah, my parents picked cotton. And all the guys from up north were like, your parents picked cotton? Were they slaves? It was my first time realizing that was such a unique experience. But the interesting thing was, when I talked to my mom about picking cotton, she would talk about it actually as something she enjoyed. And I'm like, Mom, how did you enjoy picking cotton? She's like, son, we didn't mind picking cotton because we were picking cotton on our own land. Yes. And that really hit me, because from an early age, my dream was to have ownership. And I didn't have to own the Bank of America Tower. I just wanted to, I didn't have any money. I just wanted ownership in something that I controlled, and something that could benefit our communities, where we could employ the people we choose, or we could make a real impact, and I didn't have to ask permission to do it. That was my dream. I didn't know how to accomplish And so when I went to college, I'll tell you the other thing I thought. When I saw an apartment building, I said, I would love to own an apartment building one day. I was in high school. And I thought if you owned an apartment building, I thought you owned it. I thought the person, an individual owned it. And that kind of set my tone. So when I finished Morehouse, I didn't have any money. And I went and worked at a company called Accenture, a software consulting firm, a technology consulting firm. And I began buying anything I could afford. My first property was a one bedroom condo in Houston, Texas. And that I bought for $15,000, as Shawn's mentioned. I mean, it sounds unreal, but at that time, people were like, why do you own these assets? In some cases, it was what I could afford. So I bought that for $15,000. I fixed it up. I sold it for $30,000. Now I was making about $30,000 with my job at that time. I thought I was the richest man in the world. I said I got $15,000 in my pocket, and I went and bought. I never spent a dollar. I went and bought another property and another property, and it took me 8 years of working at Accenture and building my real estate firm before I could leave my firm, Accenture, and go full time. And so that's really the start. We also started a software firm called Nationwide Compliant that we wound up selling about 5 years ago to Blackstone owns it now. So that was a wonderful exit. So we have had opportunities to work with real estate and technology. I'm fortunate to have a wonderful wife who's from Durham, which is kind of the reason why we're here. In Charlotte, we have 3 kids. And I'll tell you, I always enjoy having these conversations because when I was coming up, we were fortunate to have Black Enterprise and these different magazines. And those, you might read an article, it would spark something in you. And I'm hoping through dialogue and conversation and community, we can each sort of create sparks in each other or our children that actually would pay some dividends maybe into the future where we're not even realizing that spark is what initiated it.
Thank you all so much. But Bobby Drakeford has been in Charlotte as long as I've been in Charlotte. And I'd like for you to tell us a little bit more about what you have done and about your family and everything. You know, we talked about this a little bit. I came to Charlotte in the 60s and I heard about Mr. Drakeford. So can you share a little bit more about how you were brought up and everything, and what you have done? A little bit more, please.
Thank you. That's probably not my natural inclination. But since I'm here, I'll share some thoughts. So I'm a native Charlottean, and I essentially live in the neighborhood I grew up in behind Friendship, which has a tremendous legacy politically, which again intersects with real estate. But my father ran small businesses here in Charlotte since I think he started in '57. He was Professor Johnson C. Smith, and we've always lived in the West Side. And so after going off to school, I came back to Charlotte in '91. I was a tax attorney for the IRS, and I was a state tax attorney. And my job was to value postal corporations and real estate. And my father had retired from Smith, was a broker at that time. That was the last business he ran. So I guess quickly learned about the real estate business. And like these gentlemen, became an investor early in my career. And it seen tremendous change in Charlotte. This area, I remember those days when things were very affordable here. And much of what's happened here has happened because of light rail, a public policy decision. And so, you know, with my intersection with growing up in the political community, being in the industry, I have just a lot of thoughts about how public policies are influencing our quality of life, our opportunity, our neighborhoods, and perhaps the lack thereof. And I think we can do better. Some of our governmental bodies do better than others, but a lot of what's not happening, I think, is due to conversations we are not having. So, you know, a lot of my interest currently, I guess the reason I didn't talk a lot about what I'm doing professionally is I'm very engaged with civic stuff. But I will say this in terms of professionally. So I worked for Trammell Crow for 5 years after the RS, and I started my company. And we did initially infield for sale products. We did some projects in Wesley Heights, Pleasant Midwood, a couple of Morningside, gonna do Elizabeth, Max Park, Greenville, just all the neighborhoods that are close in. And we sold townhomes and condos. You know, it's really interesting. I learned that from a real estate perspective, in terms of the racial dynamic and outlook, that most of our consumers were white. They bought that product because they knew it had appreciation potential, which, you know, we just don't understand as well or don't act on as well. You probably understand it, just don't make that decision. And so in the latter part of my career, I'm a lot older than these guys, I'm also developing more for sale affordable product. So currently our communities are land development projects where we sell lots to home builders, and most of them are in the low 300 price point. I think we got 4 going now. We'll start 2 more next year, 2 of which we'll build, by the way. We'll build our part 2 of our project out on Statesville Avenue that will have an affordable component. And then we have a part 2 to a project out near Harding High School that'll be a little higher, maybe in the 400 range. And a lot of my thoughts currently are about, you know, how do we create wealth for our folks, just like Shawn. I do think there's an opportunity to do a lot of that with public policy decisions, which, you know, for example, the Black Political Caucus wrote a letter 5 years ago saying, hey, the trust fund is spending 95% of its money on rental units. Why should that be? And that's changed of late. I don't know what the allocation is now, but it's certainly more for home ownership, and I was part of that discussion. So that's what a lot of my hearings have evolved to now. That's why I didn't talk a lot about my real estate projects. We're still pretty active, and so we got 4 projects going on. We'll start 2 next year. Got a couple other sites that we'll probably sell. All of them are for sale. All of them are, you know, home ownership initiatives and more affordable, and that's mainly what our business model is today.
Thank you. We now will open the floor for questions, and our first question comes from Cedric.
Oh, the food is here. Yeah, Chick-fil-A right here. Yeah, we got see fruit and minis, chicken minis. So help yourself for us.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. My name is Cedric Thomas, and I really appreciate you guys showing up. You guys are more like the alpha males from your time frame. So I wanted to ask you a question regarding high school. What was the most influential teacher or program that you were involved in high school? And secondly, what will you do over the next 5 years to have that impact on the current high school students? Thank you.
So I'm the new guy on the block. First of all, I want to give the flowers to the gentleman right here, Bobby, because he's essentially the godfather of black developers. And we stand on the shoulders of this gentleman, because without him, there would be no Shawn. So to hit on it, the biggest thing I got out of high school, so I said the last job I was 17. My last job was at Inroads. I don't know if anybody knows about the Inroads program. And I got an internship at Edna in Hartford, Connecticut. And what I learned, it wasn't a teacher in particular, what I learned was I was not cut out for corporate America. I didn't smoke cigarettes, but I took 5 cigarette breaks every single day. I will find places to hide. So more than anything, there wasn't a teacher that really played, because I always tell when the kids I mentored, I didn't have my first black male teacher until I got to Morehouse. I had a lot of sisters as teachers, and I had a lot of teachers that looked different than I did. But I didn't really have an African-American male teacher. There was only one in my high school, one black male teacher, and he taught shop, and I didn't take shop. So there wasn't a teacher that really pushed me that hard. And I can go into stories about that. When my mother fought for me every single day, she was up at that school to make sure they gave their baby what he needed. So not with that, but far as giving back, as you know, we spent some time together at West Charlotte, mentoring, and again, giving back is a big thing for me, giving back to these young boys particularly, because I think young black males right now are going down the wrong path. And we need to really put some attention into that. Our kids in general, our little brothers are going the wrong way. And we need to, in our community, emphasize things besides basketball and football. We need to talk about career paths. A big thing that I believe in is introducing our young men to trades. Electricians and plumbers make $200,000 a year. Most little brothers don't know that. So just give them the chance to see that. So that's big in what we do here at Impact and so forth. Thank you, man.
Each other. Okay. Oh, if possible.
Yeah, certainly. You know, I went to West Charlotte, and you know, I enjoyed very much playing football at West Charlotte. I played against Gerald Patton he was on the greatest team this city seen. He was a linebacker, and you know, I think it developed just a lot of discipline and camaraderie and relationships that are very important to me. Like I said, I live in the neighborhood I grew up in. I interact with some of the kids, not as much as I think adults did when I grew up, because you know, it's just different nowadays. You don't really talk to people's kids you don't know. You know, I'm very involved with the local political environment. We try to engage people in our precinct in voting and engage in outreach and a lot of election day activities there. And that's most of what my efforts are, you know, kind of, a lot of them are sort of informal, but really just being, I guess, visible and active in the community is much of what I do. It's not in a real structured way, just to be frank.
Yeah, you know, like Bobby, I ran track in high school and wound up running track in college, got a track scholarship. That just showing sort of that work ethic and sort of fighting through the pain of training taught me a lot. I mean, you want to give up, you got more in you. Also, I got a chance to work with a lot of different jobs. I mean, I used to like cut grass and do those sorts of things. I was like, man, people who work at McDonald's, that seems like a better situation. So I went to work at McDonald's, got my first paycheck, and realized I was making more money cutting grass. that was a lesson unto itself. And as far as, giving back, as an entrepreneur, originally, when we would give back, we would do it, my wife and I would try to spearhead those initiatives. And we did a number of things, like we created this Nurses Aid Scholarship that the goal is to create economic mobility. And so the Nurses Aid Scholarship allows someone who may be working hourly, say at Walmart, they could go to Nurses Aid School, which is like a 3 or 4 month program, and they can graduate and they can make like $22, $23 an hour through that certification. And so we worked to create nurses aides. One of the issues was if you're working at Walmart and you have a child, you actually can't take off all that time to go to school. So through our program, we'd actually pay them to go to school, $18 an hour, pay for the school, and also pay for all the supplies. That's an example of something we're trying to do that's creative, that has made a material impact. We have created, there's sort of 3 or 4 nurses aides that are graduate every quarter, so that we were pretty pleased with that. The other thing that I enjoy, we have interns at our company, and so we try to bring in sophomores. And so we have a young man from Morehouse, actually, that'll be interning with us in our finance department, and another young man from Georgetown, and he'll be working in our commercial real estate department. The good thing about that is the sophomore year intern sets you up for your junior year, which sets you up for your job after college. And so it's hard for sophomores to get real credible internships. So with us, we're able to give them decent, really good work experience, which we've tracked our interns. They're all doing great as college graduates. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm gonna add, and Todd helped me, by the way, we started a scholarship over at our church. I'm not a member, but you're there a lot. But in other churches as well, quite honestly. So just written some checks. And again, we do that for our people. I don't know if people do it for our folks, so let's remember that.
All right, just for the Charlotte cultural record.
First Baptist and Memorial Presbyterian.
Mr. Drakeford, when you say the greatest football team in Charlotte, you can't just leave it open-ended. We gotta have it. What team was that before I ask my question? Where did you play?
It was South Bend. They won the state championship in 1982. They were undefeated.
Okay.
All right, West Charlotte gave them a run. We played them twice.
No, that's important for the history of Charlotte. Yes, I just wanted to clear that up. No, Dr. Penn, she's new here. She's training. So, what my question is, Shawn, I'm actually sacrifice my question to go back to what you alluded to earlier because I don't want this to be a conversation that feels like with the mechanic after the oil change. What is developers? What are developers? What is development? How did you get into real estate? Can you just kind of uncover some more about the profession?
So, where do you want me to start at? What is development or how I got started?
Whatever feels right.
All right, how I got started.
What is a developer to you and how you found your way there? Again, but is it building the buildings or like what is it?
So a misconception with a lot of people is they think we're builders. We are not builders. So essentially developers, in my opinion, is the one with the big vision, right? So we find a project that makes sense. We figure out how to finance that project. We work with the city or the town and the government to get entitlements. And then we usually hire a builder to build our project. Specifically, developers have much smaller companies than builders because you don't need that much labor. And again, how I got into development again was piece by piece. Again, purchasing single family homes and then learning the game as I went. And then started doing small infill builds. Infill builds is when somebody tears a house down and they build one house up. And doing that a couple of times and realizing that, okay, it takes as much energy to build one house as it does to build 20 houses. And that's essentially how I stepped into the development space. One of the main reasons I stepped into the development space was generational wealth. I realized that our people weren't taking advantage of generational wealth and we didn't understand how purchasing a home in Charlotte, this is probably one of the greatest markets in this country. And I learned personally, purchasing houses in our community, you could purchase them for $1 and within 5-6 years, that dollar is now worth $3. So expanding that to our community, making sure they understand the importance of real estate.
You experience in it, like how do you find yourself getting to it?
Well, you know, as I mentioned, I started very small and sort of just built my way up. And you know, there's something called a 1031 exchange. So we would buy a property, we would eventually sell it, and we would 1031 exchange the tax-free exchange into a larger property. And I would sort of just do that over and over and over again until I got to the point where I was able to start buying more sizable assets. So, you know, our firm, we operate like where we are now, about 1,000 apartment units between 5 communities within like a 3 or 4 mile radius from here. And we have shopping centers like East Town Market, which is on Sharon Avenue and Milton Road here, W.T. Harris, we own that, and some other properties. But as Shawn mentioned, you know, we do build. We build as well, but sort of our bread and butter, we like to buy an asset that is undervalued or undermanaged, and we try to bring it to its full potential. And so one of our newest acquisitions is we call it the Boardwalk at University Place, where Boardwalk Billy's is there and a number of other property businesses. And so we bought that in September. We're redeveloping it. It's going to be really nice. We're about to start an exterior facade upgrade. We're gonna have new awnings, new signage. There's an office building there. We're redoing the office building. So if you need some office space, let me know. We've got you covered. And we're bringing new tenants. So we're bringing Bricks Pizza will be there. And we have a bagel baguette bakery, we have a Pilates studio. You know, so we try to, the beauty of it, of sort of retail development, your goal is that every new tenant you bring makes the other tenants more successful. Every new tenant you bring attracts someone new to the center who will get a chance to visit 2 or 3 different businesses. You really want to create like an ecosystem within that development. And so that's something that we do. And because we own it, we don't have, I guess other thing, your question is how do you get into it? There's some people that raise capital, you have a fund, and if you have a fund, you have all these requirements, and you have to exit at a certain time. We're not a fund, we use our own capital, so we don't have a real exit time frame. And the luxury of that is we get to redevelop our properties in the way we want to, during the time frame that we want to, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer than expected. Hopefully that answers the question, but.
Did you want to touch on that, Bob?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a lot to add. You know, I would say in terms of an entree into development, you know, many of us, all of us started with residential, and all of us have a background in finance. And I think that for many folks who want to enter it, that's a pretty good example. But I do think that development is, Todd noted, taking an asset, adding value to it. Just like Shawn said, development is really managing the process well in utilizing third-party vendors appropriately, and you know, managing just the capital investment, the timing of it. That's a great description of what a developer is. It is not historically a very labor-intensive firm. You know, management is labor-intensive, building is labor-intensive, leasing is labor-intensive, but development firms are generally fairly lean. And, you know, I think in terms of African-American developers in Charlotte, maybe there are about 10 of us, and, you know, we're all enjoying a little more opportunity, but it's not what it should be. And I'll tell you an example of a conversation that frames, for me, the perspective of government in development for African Americans. There was a guy who ran for the mayor of Baltimore about a decade ago, and he was friends with a woman in Charlotte named D'Alva Wilson, who hosted a fundraiser for him. And we were talking, and I told him what I do. And he said, well, that's odd for a Black developer not to be in a public space. Much of the opportunity that's been created throughout this country for development has been through public sector, providing opportunity to private developers. And, you know, we have all succeeded without that. And we feel good about it, but on the other hand, we look at the opportunities that we should have, none of which would make us who we are. We don't need to survive, but it's just not happening. And so we would like for that to be different, so that there is a bigger camp. There are more scholarships that we will do that other folks simply do not. So again, that message is to say, for these public projects that are happening, they should be different. It shouldn't be 12 hour when somebody gets to be part of a 76-acre development in East Charlotte that's surrounded by people of color, and they get in the 12 hours should be criteria up front. This gentleman is modest, talked about his holdings, but there, for example, is a very large-scale project at the airport that nobody participated in. All public dollars, all decision makers look like us in the participants, and they do not. So that should not be the case for these younger guys who got all this experience and ability. So we just want to share that thought. We thank you for giving us this platform, but that's development as it is known in most major cities throughout this country, but it has not happened here due to African-American leadership in some positions.
Great segue, Bob. Gary Young. That's a great segue. Where I had a meeting early, I think it was early last year, with the leadership team at Lincoln Harris, and they brought up something that they did in Compton, where they did a zoning overlay. So I've been having these conversations with city leadership about what does it look like if we did a zoning overlay on the west side of Charlotte, where it eases zoning restrictions, but you are intentional and about the development over there. From a developer's lens, would an overlay be more beneficial or harmful for an area if it was implemented with, you know, intentional development?
I know I've talked a lot, let me talk again, sorry. So Jay Hill and I and other folks in West Boulevard Neighborhood Coalition are right now involved with discussions about a rezoning that will change the complexion of West Boulevard and Wilson Boulevard, which we argued for in a recent decision called the transit tax, where we said these type of initiatives are going to change our neighborhoods beyond recognition. We should add some provisions that don't stop it, but just make it work better for people who are there today and won't be there long term. So to answer your question, some of these overlays don't work in our favor. I saw it on Central Avenue, for example, where a rezoning category led a ton of apartments happening that the neighbors didn't like. So it's not just our neighborhoods, it's lots of places. And citizens need to be involved in those discussions. We can all have more of this process, just like Jay, I think you'll agree we're going to end up with in our discussions with the project coming off of West Boulevard. So.
Okay, I'd just like to say that we're moving right along, but we have 13 questions already. We'd like to ask you again, 30 seconds for your question, and we're gonna ask our guests 2 minutes, and if you wanted one person to answer, do indicate that when you ask your question. So our next question is Gerald.
I would like to thank each of you for your involvement and the positive things that you've done in East Charlotte, particularly you, Mr. Drakeford, how you go about your rezoning hearings, making sure that the community is engaged. My question is there any way to do gentrification safely without displacing people of color in the community? And the second part of that question is, have you all considered collaborating on larger scale projects within the marginalized communities?
I'll tell you, there is one way to prevent gentrification, and it's we need to actually own the properties. Because you can't, no one's going to tell you to move if you own it. It's just your choice, and if you do move, you have some sort of financial outcome that's incenting you to move. So if anything, I would encourage us to get in the position of ownership sooner. And you don't have to start with $1 million house. I mean, as Shawn mentioned, he started with a small investment. And so, and part of that conversation has to do with delayed gratification. It has to do with making sacrifices on what you're buying. Are you buying appreciating assets or depreciating items? So my goal would be to stop gentrification through ownership as much as possible.
And collaboration, you guys consider collaborating?
Well, you know what? I'd love to collaborate. I don't think we have not. We've supported each other, but we have not collaborated. But as Bobby mentioned, if we can, if the project is large enough, it would be a great opportunity. So I think we can all do better with that.
Okay, Samir.
What's up, y'all? Samir Hamid, Charlotte native. I was gonna ask a question about how like developers run the city, but then it popped up in my head on, just wanted to know y'all's opinion on if the epicenter was your project and you had to make it work, what would each of y'all do? And think optimistically, don't
Hold on, let me get my
be constrained. In 30 seconds. I know you dream about it. I know you guys dream about it at night.
That's my nightmare. Epicenter is my nightmare, actually. It's interesting that the gentleman that built the Epicenter has built a number of other projects, and they all have a very similar design. There's one over on Park Road, and there's one on W.T. Harris. And they're sort of an insular, they're almost like a fort, where it's almost a beer can on the outside, and you have to go inside to do the experiences. And I mean, clearly there was a time when that worked for the Epicenter, but as society has changed, I mean, it just no longer worked. I mean, I think that this is sort of a bigger conversation, as Bobby mentioned, sort of the city and county probably need to get involved, but I mean, the Epicenter is located, adjacent to the current CATS bus terminal. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for redevelopment there. Sometimes if a decision is wrong, you have to bite the bullet and suffer the consequences to sort of make the correction. And so part of that decision may be really making a big change and doing away with that building.
What would you do?
Well, I wouldn't, but I wouldn't do anything with it. I wouldn't be involved unless there was some sort of city or county support to totally transform that asset and sync it with the light rail, the Spectrum Center, and the overall community around there.
Okay. Mike, Lily?
Good morning, Mike Lilly. As developers who also work with builders, for me, just personally, I see a loss of trade within our color, brick masons, electricians, and stuff. Do you all ever think of when you do a job, a development, then you bring in the builders that you require that they use people of color in our trades, or is there so much of a loss that it's not possible to do so?
Yes, sir. And it's, when we work with builders, we're not asking them to bring in minority trades. We're trying to bring in black builders. That's the key. So, say for instance, with the Excelsior, we have interviewed 5 builders, 4 of them African American. We're intentional about bringing brothers and sisters in at the top, and then push them to make sure they're bringing up people below them as far as their subs and their trades. So we're intentional with that to make sure we're growing community. Because I mean, kind of hinted on it, but as far as developers, there's not a lot of us compared to how many developers are around the city. I mean, he said there's several. I'm saying there's 5 that are actually doing projects in the city. So all of us need to bring up each other, and that's the key to it.
Yeah, I would say my experience is it's very difficult to get these GCs to hire folks. You know, a lot of these home builders in particular they don't self-perform, but they essentially own these subs. They give them so much work. They have their relationships and patterns. It's hard to grade. I had some success with it, but it was only on my projects. The goal was that they repeat, outside of my projects, but they have not done that. And, even projects where I've had several, contracts with a GC and introduced subs, they haven't always been receptive to it. It is, I'd say, disappointing in many of those instances, but I've had that conversation, we all have, but it is, and you would know as well as anyone from your widespread work, it's easier said than done. It can be done, by the way, but I think the bigger thing is there a series of work going to these contractors that lets you really leverage it out so that these subs have an ongoing relationship outside of your projects.
We work with a number of firms, and you don't know that they're African American owned, they're just doing their work, but the asphalt firm that we work with, it's African American owned. The electrician that we work with on a lot of our assets, his firm is, he owns his firm. And so there are different trades out there that are owned by a diverse group of individuals, but I think that we can do a better job within the broader community of letting people know that these firms exist and to really support them.
Daniel?
Danielle Thomas, thank you so much for being here. Really quickly, and we've gone through, I guess this has been answered in some ways, but what strategies are you putting together either individually or collectively? What strategies are you putting in place to move the community from being renters or observers of development to actual stakeholders, so owners, investors, long-term beneficiaries of the wealth being created?
Yeah, I think Shawn and I both were involved with land development projects that are affordable to, I guess you'd say, more moderate income households, and certainly where I started. Most of my projects currently are in African American neighborhoods, on the peripheral for sure. We got 3 off of W.T. Harris, 2 off of Allegheny and Ashley. We finished one off of Hoskins Road last year, finished one on Bates Ford, one on Statesville Avenue. And they're all home ownership driven. You know, what has allowed me to do that more than where I started, honestly, is being on the land development side. So you find that all of the affordable home ownership initiatives are really can almost only be offered by the national home builders. They can build at a lower price. So it's a trade-off sometimes. I mean, you think, for example, that we love to have an African-American builder. Very few have the scale to build at that price. So for example, we've got 2 projects at Ryan Homes. They have their own cabinet manufacturing company. They have a warehouse where they frame all of their trusses. So they deliver them on site. They can build a house in 45 days. So they can build cheaper. So, you know, it's not African-American owned, but, you know, African-Americans are buying it at a lower price point, which creates wealth. You know, you can't do it all with one project. You can do some, you know. I'm glad that I'm doing more, and glad to see what you're doing, you know. But either way, we're certainly achieving that goal. The optimal scenario would be we produce it all, we buy it all. But, you know, I would say what we do is more than what other folks do. You know, here I go again. We have made some bad decisions thinking that some skin folks are kin folks, particularly from out of town. They are not. You know, folks who come here from other cities, you know, controlling deals, and we're not benefiting from it. So going forward, I would hope that Todd has some of those deals, for example, on the commercial side, because we know what Todd would do. He has done it. I didn't know what Shawn has done all these years. It's incredible. Before he needed anything, he was doing that work. So that's who we are. That's what we do. So we are your kin folks, by the way.
And I gotta piggyback. So, Danielle, one thing we've done also is we do community meetings. So we're building 39 townhomes, all affordable right now in Hidden Valley. So we've done community meetings every quarter, and we've had great turnouts. But the average age at those meetings is probably 60 years old. The younger generation is not showing up to take advantage of it. And then another thing that I hear over and over from my community, and I go back to my first restaurant, which was on South Main Street, which was Wilmore. And I remember even there, why would I want to live in the hood? We don't see the beauty of our communities until it's too late, right? And that's the same thing that's happening right now with Hoover Towns on the corner of Sugar Creek and 85. We got to see the beauty, because once it's gentrified, it's too late. So we need to keep homes in our community. We need to buy these homes in our community, take advantage of it, and see the beauty in our communities.
Okay, Dr. Penn.
Good morning, Dr. Penn here. Good morning, good evening, good night. Mr. Todd, picking cotton at 4 or 5 in the morning is not fun. So I just want to make that clear to you.
I agree with you.
So, and I'm glad Bobby said something about kin folks. Okay, glad y'all talking about kin folks. Okay, so I have a daughter, 9 children. Kin folks up there, I need a space for her, and it's not affordable. Every place we go is not affordable. And so 3 times the rent, this, that, the other, blah, 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 blah. So how can my kin folks help me out? Now, I'm not the only parent. I'm one of the grandparents that we do have a lot of problems with that when they moving back home.
You're saying, how does your granddaughter get an apartment?
Kin folks, I'm saying.
Well, I'll tell you.
Kin folks.
We have our, you know, we own, like I said, we own apartment communities, and they're all, many of them are NOAA, Nationally Occurring Affordable Housing. And, I mean, I think our goal is to have the nicest, most affordable communities in Charlotte. And I think we've done it. We try every day to accomplish that goal. And so, yeah, we love to talk to your granddaughter. But I do tell people, because I get this question a lot, hey, my baby needs something. I said, look, before I tell my staff to give her something, let me just give you something to give to her. Because we have a company to run that has standard operating procedures that I can't throw in all sorts of crazy situations. So I'd rather help you help her than having, you know, our staff change up the whole operating procedure for one person.
Dr. Penn, we have family at the county too, in the city. So we may ask our cousins over there. We have family at the city, county. We should hold them accountable as well for the affordable housing and not the business. Well, not, but next question is Jay Hill.
Good morning. So I'm a business owner here, and something that doesn't get talked a lot about is that office space is through the roof in Charlotte. I know people who are giving up percentages of their businesses to try to get someone to help them get an office space. So, not specific to your project, but like, what can we do? Because I feel like there's no middle. Like everything, like I got co-working spaces that are at $2,000 a month for a small space. And then retail space or something bigger, it starts at $5,000 to $6,000. Like, there's no middle. What should we do in Charlotte to try to solve that?
You need to come and take a look at some of our projects. We have that option. So, I mean, it depends on where you want to be. If you want to be in South End, if you want to be in South Park, yeah, that's what it's going to cost. But, you know, we have projects in East Charlotte, East Town Market. I mean, we have offices for $700 that are very nice. Huh?
I was making notes.
Okay, yeah, $700. We have retail spaces that rent for, I think, $21 a square foot. The spaces are out there. The question is, you know, are these communities you're interested in being in? And I'll tell you, we're very proud to say East Town Market because of this. When we bought it, it was 30% occupied. It was a ghost town. It's now, you know, 98% occupied, and we've been able to maintain reasonable office as well as retail rent. So I'm very serious. We'd love to talk to you because we have really good options.
Thank you for coming. I'm an electrical and mechanical contractor, and I also teach electrical and mechanical contractor for students, nonprofit. So what I wanted to know is, I got students who they pull wire, crawl, get up under the house, but I also have students who want to know about the land acquisition and the financing part of it. So what do you recommend and suggest the best way to make that happen for somebody coming out of high school, just getting into business? And thank you for all your business that you gave me.
First of all, Maurice, you need to just call me. We've known each other 20 plus years since I first got here. Just a place to call. Again, Chris Dennis does his real estate roast, attend the real estate roast. There's things out there. So one thing I run into a lot of people in the community, like, hey, Shawn, can you meet with me for coffee, right? And I was doing that real hard 2 years ago. But there's only so many cups of coffee I could drink out of my time and still run my business, right? So what I started doing is more meetups, going to Chris's roast. I'll be like, okay, meet me here and I'll talk to you. So the brothers and sisters need to show up though. Because I get 20 of them calling for one-on-one meetings and I'm like, okay, I give them a date 2 weeks from now. Meet me at this place. And out of the 25 of them might show up. Again, I'm a big hand-up guy. I'm not a handout guy. So you got to show up to want it. You know what I mean? So again, we need to be intentional, maybe as a group, to do these meetups maybe every 2 months or so forth, and let the young brothers and sisters come out and learn the game. But we need to be intentional about that. And you have my number. So anytime you got some brothers and sisters that want to get together, I'd love to get together with them.
Thank you.
I'd like to add, I recommend folks get their real estate license. You know, again, a lot of us learn through investing and, you know, a series of other ventures that add a lot of value to what we've done in other professions. But, you know, I often find folks wanting to enter the industry and they sometimes trivialize it, you know, not to discourage anyone, but, you know, it's not like everybody becomes a real estate developer, whether black or white. You know, there's a degree of capital that you risk, and it's not always fun. You know, I've been through the recession more than one, and So I would suggest to folks that they have a background and perhaps even, like I think we all did, build up an asset base that gives you some staying power. Because you cannot avoid the cycle. I don't care how smart you are, how much money you have, you're going to lose money at some point in time in this industry. You have to wait till it comes back. Hopefully you're young enough. So I just would suggest that people gain some level of understanding of the industry because it appears sexy. And a lot of it is, but all of it ain't. And so, get the foundation is what I would recommend. And we all talk to people on a regular basis. So, and I've been to Chris's real estate roast and find it, insightful as well.
Good morning, my name is Jasmine. I'm a community organizer here in this area. I'm familiar with some of you all. I think you might be the only one I don't know. I got several questions, but I guess the one I want on record, rather. How has, generalize, how has policy, and especially since you all are working closely with government, particularly the immigration stuff going on with immigration, how has that affected you all's work as developers?
So, when ICE came through here, it certainly slowed down our work. We had 2 sites with one builder that they showed up at unannounced, and folks left. And I think the impact of that is passing now. Public policy, I think a lot is thought of as a community initiative, but really there's a great intersection. I would say, for example, a real estate community, development community, and neighborhoods failed in one initiative that we're suffering from now, which is the 2040 plan. Many great ideas in there, but a lot of them cost money. And we should have got together as a community and said, hey, yeah, developers want this, we want the same thing too, for example, as neighbors. So I believe on the public policy side is an issue of talking and really think about what the outcome of a lot of these decisions are. Many are not foreseeable, by the way, it's not our fault, but things that have happened that have run on costs are really impacting a lot of our goals, particularly the affordability goal. And not in the way that we have wanted. Now, there are some benefits to some of these decisions, like, I guess 12-foot sidewalks are a great idea for some people, but they cost money. They're running the cost of our projects up. The tree issue, great to have cleaner air, but there's a consequence of that. So I would say public policy-wise, the best thing to do is to stay connected and stay engaged and realize that we all are part of it. We have a better outcome.
Yeah, as Bobby mentioned, the ICE attacks were, it was pure insanity. I mean, we had residents who would not go outside, kids who wouldn't go to school, people who wouldn't go to work. I don't understand the logic behind terrorizing and attacking your own city. That was insanity. And I think we're still not fully recovered, as Bobby mentioned, we're coming out of it, but I think that was something that you couldn't sort of account for. But the other thing that I realized that, and I'm gonna talk to the county guys about this, so, there's no real effective way that I've seen to deal with the unhoused situation. And so we have a community that has neighbors in elementary school, and there's some folks who are unhoused, sort of living in between our 2 properties, and when we're trying to rectify it, any person you call is like, hey, that's not me. And so there should be a way for us, if we know someone who's sort of in that situation, to have a point of contact to help that person. And shockingly, I have not seen that. There are a lot of organizations that will help, but none of us can pick up a call and all call the same number that provides that level of support. And I think that's sort of a failure of our city and our community.
Okay, Robert. Go ahead.
Good morning. Don't look at me like that. My question is, I've heard questions about collaboration, working together, and all of this. This is I'm going to present an opportunity to each of you. And my opportunity is, I would love to see you form a coalition where you guys will come together and have something where you get someone to facilitate it or manage it, where you put funds in a pot where people can come to you, not only for, grant opportunities, but also NOAA, they have I can make a phone call if someone needs something and get them something for $500-700, and this is something that has been revitalized, that is wonderful. There are opportunities, and Bobby knows this, where we've tried to do things on the African-American side of town, like the west side, and presented it, because Eastland should have been on the west side. But when we went to the people on the west side, they didn't think we had the ability, and they went radio silent, 4 or 5, okay? So something where creative ideas can come. You guys as a coalition can manage that. I just want to know if you've ever thought about that. It's called Opportunities for People Who, you guys will leave here and not see each other again, but when can we come together and say, we're gonna collaborate, we're gonna help each other with projects? I can see that side glass.
Do you want, yeah, we
I
still
don't
have
need
about
you,
5
I just want you don't have to answer, but that's something that I would love to talk to each of you about. My question is, what is your late father-in-law's name, Todd?
Joe Alston.
Okay, y'all remember Joe Alston?
Yeah.
If you're my age, you remember he was the most famous tennis coach at Johnson C. Smith University.
Oh, word.
Yes.
See?
And the basketball coach, yeah.
And that's right. When we were winning.
That's right.
In what? I was trying, but I was so scared, so I put it down.
Z.
But I'm serious.
So for the coalition, we are putting that together. Actually, after this meeting, we're meeting, and Robert, who's with you, is gonna meet us after this. So we're putting it together to really start working together as brothers and sisters.
Yay. Okay, Z.
We're gonna hold them to it.
Yes, we're gonna hold you to it.
We have got to move on.
This is being taped, y'all, so just make these commitments. Go ahead, Z.
Hi, I'm Z from Sister Magazine. My question is, do you find that development is a male-dominated industry? And if so, what are some ways that Black women can get involved and be competitive within that industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% a male-dominated industry. And it's a white male-dominated industry. But I will say there is one of the most successful, most dynamic developers in Charlotte is a lady, Dion Nelson.
She's traveling today. We called her several times.
And I spoke to her 2 days ago. And she's doing projects around the region, large projects. She's had a large firm. Went to Spelman, went to Harvard Business School, and is an incredible person. But to your point, she's the only one I know. And that should not be the case. Maybe my daughter will get into it one day. We'll see.
Robert.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have a friend that's of another nationality that was explaining to me what they do, and I just let it know the Indian culture to help each other get into the business is they allow, let's just say I'm Shawn's friend. They allow me to come in with Shawn. I have credit, but I don't have income or the funds, let's say, so to speak. I worked with Shawn for several years. A new project comes up. So now, more or less, instead of me having to go find the money, trying to get investors, Shawn now lends me the money, and I pay Shawn back, so that now I get in the game. Do you guys do things like this to help people?
Yeah, I think we all have. I mean, I've certainly helped folks, particularly years ago, and a lot of the early investors. My father did that as well, and all of his peers were African American. So there is a long history of that. It might not be as structured as what you described, but I'm sure we have all done that. But again, some of that goes back to parties willing to make the investment to prepare themselves for it. So I, for example, have someone who called and said, I want to do a couple of these deals, and never done one before. And their deals are bigger than things I'm doing after 20, 30 years. So it's just one example, but there is a process for that. And certainly we have not had capital perhaps as long as some folks have, but yeah, we do that. There's no question we do. Yeah, I can name people, by the way.
Okay. Okay, anyone else want to address that? Duval. He's ready, right. And after him, we have Jackie, and then we have Jazzy and Lorenzo, and Winston has our last question.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Of the many things I do, for the past 8 years, I've been a member of the 100 Black Men of Greater Charlotte. The last 4 years, I've been doing group mentoring in Title I schools for Black males. The program I created last summer, recreated, is called RPBK, Reinvent Princes, Build Kings. It's a 12-week program. 4 of the weeks is called How to Get the Bag, Financial Literacy Series. In 2 weeks, we're doing the real estate thing. That's not my area. So I'm just wondering which one of you three, or all three, would like to join me at West Charlotte on a Friday, which I'm going to today, at 11 a.m. to talk about the real estate game and how to get in it. Because that's just not my area. I can put something together with Claude and ChatGPT, but I need the real deal. And like Jesus said to the disciples, can you not pay with me for 1 hour? Can you not hang with me for 1 hour? Somebody, I need that help.
Just a simple yes,
Yes.
from each one of them.
Yeah, just get the numbers, because we've already been in West Charlotte, so.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I am so happy that you're here. I know that most of you are persons of faith. Can you speak a little bit about the city's faith and housing initiative? Because we got some land.
Yes, so faith is a big part of what we do at Kennedy Properties and Development. So right now we are leading the largest faith and housing development ever in the state of North Carolina in partnership with Park CDC, Park Church, and True Homes, in which we'll be delivering over 300 units of housing. 183 will be for sale homes. We're also partnering with Chappelle Memorial Baptist to deliver another 39 houses. And we're in discussions with 3 other faith houses to provide housing for our communities and their flock. So the faith community has really stepped up lately to use a lot of their land to help our community. So it's Jackie on that.
Okay.
Thank
you. Did you all want to address that? Todd or Robert? Okay. Jazzy.
Okay, good morning, y'all. I want to thank y'all for being here. I appreciate the work that y'all do, but by no means am I interested in real estate, but I am very interested in what real estate or how real estate impacts my community. So I know WC has been mentioned a lot here today, but I graduated from there about 3 years ago, and I mean, in my short time there and the time since, the West Charlotte community, specifically Beatties-Ford, has seen so much dramatic changes, especially considering the history of redevelopment in our community. So as developers, I really want to get your perspective on how this gentrification in the West Charlotte area is really working, because I mean, I myself don't have a complete understanding of it. And then what are some feasible ways that young people specifically, but also just anyone in the community that may not have the funds to become homeowners, that may not really know much about real estate, to be involved, to understand how to advocate for ourselves and how to stop something like the destruction of the Brooklyn neighborhood from happening again in West Charlotte.
I'll start with that. So I went to West Charlotte. Like I said, I live where I grew up, not the same house, but essentially the same community on the other side of 85. And so I'm aware of what your reference is. I guess dramatic change. I think things are improving. but the whole city's gotten better. And some of the things that are happening there are due to public policy and investment, but that's happened in lots of places. So I don't think we should feel like, hey, Drakeford is now what it used to be. You know, I did a project there, you're doing a project there, I didn't talk about one there, but we're still behind. I believe that public policy accounts for maybe 3 to 5% of the economy. It should be a higher percent in these areas where we've been part of the community long-term and contribute to the fabric in a lot of decisions that we make, particularly public dollars. So it ain't happening to the degree I think it should happen. In terms of being there long-term and being part of it, y'all see the best thing to do is to become a homeowner. Like Todd said, gentrification should be a choice in terms of whether you participate or not. If it happens, you make money on it, I think it's a good thing. Our challenge is we have not created as much ownership, some of which we have to own as people. We left our neighborhoods, by the way, and now a lot of people want to come back, but things are high. So it's a real complex topic that you raised, but as a young person, I get involved with my neighborhood association, I get involved with my local precinct, and I go to a lot of these meetings and express your thoughts and concerns. And people listen, you know, some of our elected officials listen more than others, but we all have an opportunity to be part of it.
Okay, Lorenzo.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen. Outstanding to see you guys. Real quick, I've been hearing this thing about syndication, and it sounds like it was touching on what Ms. Carlenia was mentioning earlier, and that's essentially, for those who don't know, is a group of us getting together behind a real estate project with your little money that you may have to invest in this. You mentioned young people participating and showing up at the meeting, Shawn. Would you think that that is something that would interest them as far as seeing that little bit of money that they thought they had grow in an investment like a REIT or a syndicated deal?
Great question. So that would be great if they could participate, but what people gotta understand about these development deals, they take years to come to fruition. So if you give me $1, that building may not be up for 4 years. So 5 years, as Bobby said, or 6 years. So again, with a REIT, you know, if you invested in a REIT that's already established, yes, you can see a return immediately. But to invest in one of our projects, you gotta understand it takes a long time for it to come to fruition. So they just need to understand that is what's gonna happen with the investment. But they can't participate. We'll probably love to have some participate, but understand the timeline that comes along with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, the last question is from Winston. And after Winston, after Winston asks his question, we'd like to give our guests an applaud and be very gracious about thanking them for being here and sharing this information and inviting you to come back. So Winston's gonna load you with the question.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we will, but we let Winston do this, and then we could do that. Go ahead.
Just again, an idea of demystifying the career. What are some of those decisions that kind of shape how you see flow versus wealth? Just those early things where, you know, if you're going to jump into this, you got to make some tough decisions. So some of those decisions you remember having to make early on that was tougher, that now with your wisdom you would readdress with a different path.
I would say that first, the cash flow opportunities are few and further between because of these corporate landlords. So maybe the only good thing that this guy in Washington's done is to raise that issue to put a cap on all this investor ownership on single family in our neighborhoods in particular, because our people cannot compete with that. They buy without inspections, for example. So if you're going to invest, you got to think long term. It's about appreciation these days. It's not about cash flow anymore. So as Todd mentioned, things like delayed gratification. Of course, the older you are, the harder that is. Yeah, we can. I certainly cannot. But you know, a lot of things you talk about today are part of that formula. You know, to be involved, think long term. And it is, again, given the environment that we have, a lot of which is created by public policy, our growth is, we made some good decisions, by the way. I don't critique everything we've done, things we are doing with our dollars are making a difference. Now the question is, who's it make a difference for, by the way? But we will continue to grow. Charlotte has a great formula. Your asset today more than likely will be worth more tomorrow. It does go down some. We're down a little bit now, but it's coming back.
I mean, that's a great question because, you know, our firm, we're cash flow investors. And as Bobby mentioned, it is hard to find. We look at deals all day, every day. I'm meeting about 6 apartment communities that are available now. Today at 4. And we wind up doing maybe 1 or 2 deals. So we look at hundreds of deals a year. We find 1 or 2. And so you have to be very diligent about financial modeling, all the boring stuff that nobody talks about. You got to do that. And you got to be diligent about it. And you have to go aggressively pursue opportunities that most people don't know are even available. And then every once in a while you look up and you find something. I mean, most people are interested. People talk about real estate as a good investment for 3 reasons. One, it prevents you from having to pay a lot of taxes. You can depreciate an asset, which reduces your taxes. As Bobby mentioned, you're owning it and it's appreciating. So you can enjoy appreciation if you ever sell it one day or refinance. And then the third is, it may actually be able to produce some cash flow, which is not W-2 money, there's all types of money out there. There's W-2, there's 1099 and K-1, and sort of the worst money is W-2. Meaning because the government's taking, like, you want to give the government what you want them to have versus them just taking it. And a W-2 allows them to just take it. And so, but to your question, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of digging through the mud to go find the assets that are actually worth investing in. Because there are brokers out there. You can pull up 1,000 sites, you'll see a bunch of listings. Most of those you don't want.
Okay, and we can get a class on that, and at some point we need to hear that. But what we'd like for you to do, if you don't mind, is do your closing statements, so we can show our appreciation.
Well, I'll start, because I assume Bobby will close us out. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll tell you, everybody has, so the Lord bless us all with different passions and purposes. And I feel very fortunate to do what I feel like Lord sort of blessed me with. But we all have that. And it is our goal for our community to do better. And to the point that was raised, I don't think any of us have ever said no to any conversation. And if we'd be happy out of this room, my brother that's a contractor, I'd love to get your information for the next opportunity that we have for your sort of work. I will say this, when you have a meeting, to Shawn's point, come prepared. Don't come with theory, come with actual something legitimate, because that gives us something to act on. And actually, that's something that I had to learn the hard way when some people told me, you're not taking advantage of this meeting. But it's a pleasure, and look forward to getting to know you guys in the future.
As Brother Todd, it's an honor to be here. The one action item I would say is let our community know the beauty of our community before it's too late. We're building homes in partnership with the city of Charlotte, again, in Sugar Creek, and we'll be starting on Freedom Drive probably in the next 3 months. Charlotte has a program called House Charlotte, in which they give you $80,000 for down payment assistance. Truist is giving another $30,000 for CMS school teachers on top of that. The homes we're delivering are being delivered at $250,000, right? You take $80,000 off $250,000, that puts you at $170,000. If you're a CMS school teacher, you're taking that down to $140,000 for a 3-bedroom, 3.5-bedroom townhouse. Take advantage, because fair housing goes both ways. And that's what I keep telling the community. Take advantage because you see it first, because it's in your community. Get involved, get in House Charlotte, get a drinking partner, start the educational portion of it. So you're ready when those houses come online. Because again, fair housing goes both ways. And that's all I gotta add. Enjoy our communities, love our communities, and don't wait for it's too late, because they are changing.
Again, thanks for having us here, and, not a lot to add, certainly what, Shawn referenced in respect to these opportunities to capitalize on this, create wealth, and, be part of the organizations that are advocating, for that. It does make a difference, with CMS, definitely see that kind of leadership has made a tremendous difference for us. Again, the caucus wrote a letter 5 years ago to talk about home ownership, out of the trust fund, and those things are having an impact. Our neighborhoods are our neighborhoods, and give some things up and live in some of them, just to be frank. But you gain a lot as well. You have an opportunity to contribute things that you might not elsewhere. I haven't always lived where I grew up, but my experience now is a lot different than what I had years ago when I was in the suburbs. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There are reasons why people live there. But let's all be part of making our communities better. Let's all talk about these public policy decisions of this scale. Next deal Shawn does, he'll do by himself. He could do it now, but some people always think of us that way. These projects happening, like East Limon very specifically, should have started with y'all part of it. Shouldn't be something you have to fight for at the end. So let's change that. Let's set expectations of people we put in office and look for deliverables as a substantive way. And it'll be better. We'll have more scholarships, we'll have more camps. I write checks as well, by the way. So we all do for our people. And again, as I said at the very beginning, in business school, a professor said to me, government is your partner. In real estate, these projects are happening with public policies behind them. Let's think about what it does for our people. In closing, the fight we're having off of West Boulevard, we're gonna win, because we are right. We shouldn't have to have that fight, we feel. It should be part of the policy, but that's okay. We understand that it happens in other communities that we have shared in that meeting. It just ain't happening for us, so we'll change that, particularly if we speak up and work together and have expectations of the folks we're given opportunity to in office. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Let's give them a round of applause. We're supposed to start at 9:45, but anyway, we need to be out of this room at least by 10:30, but we don't need for you to be in the lobby because we still have people in this building working. So if you have to have conversation, you need to go outside the door with your conversations. But we appreciate you all being here, and we have one announcement. How many announcements do we have? We only have a few minutes. 15 seconds.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and start this thing. If you want to meet the people Shawn was talking about, Dream Key Partners, they will have a tent at the Great West Side Fish Fry taking place this Saturday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at West Complex. Vendors on top of 35 food vendors, James Beard nominees, Michelin Kitchens, all high elevated. Y'all know it's on Top Shelf. So again, this is legitimate. Saturday at 1 p.m. West Complex.
Thursday at 8 a.m. Make sure you tune in to the Greater Thoughts Morning Show. You can visit theuntriedmind.com. I have Reverend Korean Mack, President of the ACP, will be on the show.
Guys, you can't hear me if you're talking. Todd, Jazz, y'all can't hear me. Thank you. This is very important. It's an opportunity for you to come out on May 21st at Central Piedmont because Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools is presenting awards to individuals who are making a difference in the lives of family and children in our system. So please, we want you to come out and celebrate with us. I'll be making this announcement up until the time. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'd like to see Todd and Bobby and Shawn before they leave, please. Thank you.
Excuse me, please. While we're having announcements, can everybody please be respectful for the person that's speaking?
There is a clipboard going around. The Cooper campaign has Black Voters Coalition. It is launching on May 4th. It's a virtual launch, so please scan the QR code on the clipboard. That way you can sign up.
Rob Hillman, CEO, Queen City Robotics Alliance. We've got summer camps that start June 15th. They go for about 7 weeks. We really want to get some black kids involved in building and coding robots. And not only that, so hit me up on queenqcra.eventbrite.com to see the listings for the camps. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I wanted to let y'all know that I just published a story on Ken Figgs called The Charlotte's News Legend Advice on Journalism. If y'all want to check it out, it's on the Queen's News Service. I worked really hard, I really enjoyed the story and getting to learn Ken, so I appreciate y'all for y'all can go, it should be published somewhere else, like in the CJC, but right now it's on Queen's News Service.
Send it to Steve.
Thank you so much. Leave X in the room.
All right. Yeah. We have good. Oh yeah. How you doing? So tell me your name. Okay.